Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Sean Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. The monsoon session of Parliament, in fact, has been scheduled for the 21st of July. What is expected in that session? We'll be talking about that with a special guest as well. But first, the headlines we're tracking right now. Monsoon session of Parliament to start on the 21st of July. Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs decides on a truncated 3-week duration. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley says the government has nothing to hide on the controversy over Lalit Modi, assures that it will go by the rule on the probe. Delhi court takes cognizance of complaint filed against HRD Minister Smriti Irani, hearing fixed on the 28th of August. France summons the US envoy in Paris, demands explanation on claims that the US spied on President Francois Hollande and his two predecessors. And the deadly heat wave continues to sweep Sindh province of Pakistan. Death toll crosses 1,200. A top story this evening. The monsoon session of Parliament is all set to begin on the 21st of July. The Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs is learned to have recommended the dates. However, the session is likely to be a 3-week affair. The government is keen to push through key reforms in this session, despite the opposition threatening to protest over a number of issues.
The Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs met on Wednesday morning to decide the dates for the forthcoming Parliament session. It has recommended a 3-week-long monsoon session this year, starting on 21st July, 2 days after the Eid festival. After the budget session, which saw the highest number of sittings in the Lok Sabha in the last 5 years, the government will be looking to pass key legislations, which are seen as crucial to push its reforms agenda.
CCPA का जो भी फैसला है उसकी जानकारी जो है स्पीकर महोदय को दी जा चुकी है और साथ ही साथ वह राष्ट्रपति महोदय के पास जाएगा. जल्दी ही आज मैं समझता हूं कि आप सबको इसकी जानकारी प्राप्त हो जाएगी.
The amendments to the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act, the Railways Amendment Bill, the Waterways Bill, the GST Bill, the amendments to the Land Acquisition Bill, Compensatory Afforestation Fund Bill and Benami Transactions Prohibition Amendment Bill 2015 are some of the key measures pending in Parliament. The session could witness uproar by opposition over a number of issues. Leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha, Ghulam Nabi Azad, has already warned that it would be virtually impossible to transact any business if the opposition demands are not met over the Lalit Modi issue. With Bureau Inputs, Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV.
And JP Yadav, assistant editor at The Telegraph, now joins us to help us understand. JP, as far as the Parliament session, the monsoon session is concerned, it certainly promises to be a stormy one. The clouds have gathered over the Modi government, especially as far as the Lalit Modi controversy is concerned.
It's bound to be stormy, there is no doubt about it. Given the Lalit Modi row and the opposition ready not to settle for anything less than the resignations of Sushma Swaraj, Basundhara Raje. So it's bound to be stormy, and the government will have a tough time this time passing the key bills it proposes to pass, particularly the land acquisition bill that has been hanging for a long time, and it has. So it's bound to be stormy. The government has to do, but the government doesn't seem to be in a mood to oblige the opposition. So
absolutely. In fact, you pointed out about the land acquisition bill, and we just had Finance Minister Arun Jaitley speak, I think, yesterday itself about the land acquisition bill, saying if necessary, a joint session of Parliament could be convened. So the BJP saying that the next stage of reforms could be held up by the opposition and its calls. So a joint session for key legislation like the land reform bill, is that a possibility this time around?
And that possibility, they have been airing that possibility for a long time now, since the opposition has been blocking these key legislations. But it's easier said than done, because the bill has to first fall in the Rajya Sabha and then they can take up. So it's not easy to have a joint session, especially in a democracy, since we have a bicameral system. It's not easy, but they will certainly try to find a way out, and they are trying to intimidate the opposition. If you don't cooperate with us on these reform bills, we will go for a joint session. That they will explore, but it has to be seen, because it is not easy.
Absolutely. JP, just stay on with us. Our correspondent Vishal Daya got us that report, is also joining us live right now. And let's go across to him. Vishal, as far as the government's plan for this monsoon session is concerned, the last session did not go all that well for the government. There were a number of roadblocks that were put up in the Rajya Sabha, especially where the government doesn't have the numbers. So as far as the government strategy for handling this monsoon session of Parliament, it's a 3-week session. We expect a truncated session this time around. So as far as the government strategy, tell us more.
Well, yes, one thing can be said out here that the number of bills or those bills which the government was hoping that they will see the light of the day, specifically an approval from both houses, that did not happen, specifically in case of the land acquisition bill. But then in terms of, hours and minutes and, being the largest number of, or the most number of sittings and having more question answered, the budget session was indeed a successful one. But then now the focus right now would be on monsoon session. And as you asked, the government strategy will be pinpointed as far as this session is concerned. That would be to ensure that two particular bills. One, that the constitutional amendment bill, which is related to the GST, gets the nod of the House. Also, very important would be since the joint committee of both houses on the land acquisition bill, or rather the amendments to the land acquisition bill, is going to submit its report on the first day of the monsoon session itself. So the government would definitely want to ensure that at least this time this particular bill gets the nod of both houses, because it is already had we've already had a number of ordinances on this particular bill. So the government would not want to go ahead further, passing in ordinances. Another very important point for the government will be to ensure the smooth functioning of houses. Now, the kind of the kind of stand which has been taken by the political parties, specifically the main opposition Congress, is a clear indication that there will be a lot of heated scenes within both the houses, specifically on issue of the Lalit Modi controversy, as well as the other ones relating to the HRD Minister Smriti Irani. And since there are a few more weeks to go before the monsoon session actually begins, the opposition would rather compile up their issues and try and corner the government on all those issues. The challenge for the government would be to ensure that the functioning of both houses is smooth, and then only those contentious bills can come up for discussion and be passed.
All right, Vishal, thanks for your inputs on this particular story. Do stay on with us because I'd like your inputs in another story. But JP, just coming back to you for a quick final word. We've already said that the session is expected to be stormy, but a lot of that depends upon opposition unity. And as far as these key legislations are concerned, that there are elections in Bihar that are coming up that would be very important for the BJP, especially given the fact that it wants to make inroads into that state on its own. So in that sense, as far as the politics around all these aspects is concerned, do you see that affecting the session as well?
Certainly, that is in fact one situation why these resignations are being rejected. Today you saw Rajnath Singh clearly stating that there is no question of resignation. This is NDA and not UPA, where ministers used to resign when the opposition used to clamor. So the land acquisition bill is also very crucial for Bihar elections. They would like to pass it, but at the same time, the opposition is also adamant not to pass it in the form that it exists now. A land acquisition bill, since it relates to farmers and large tracts of rural India, so it will have an impact on Bihar. So with opposition coming from all sides, even the Parivar, the BJP Parivar, the Sangh Parivar affiliates, they are also opposing many provisions of the bill. And so BJP will, in the present form, it will be very, very difficult to pass. So in the context of Bihar, they'll have to be very careful what message that bill carries across to the voters in Bihar, because the opposition is going to use that issue. Look how they are out to grab the poor people's land.
All right, indeed. So all set for a stormy session as far as the monsoon session of Parliament is concerned. Let's see how this build-up happens. The opposition and the government, for now, sticking to their stand as far as they're not on the wrong. But JP Yadav, thank you very much for coming in and helping us understand this a little better. Well, moving on now, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley today defended the government in the controversy over former IPL boss Lalit Modi. Jaitley insisted that the government had nothing to hide, even as he assured that it will play by the rule book in ensuring absolute standards of probity in its probe into the episode.
Even as the Lalit Modi controversy continues to make headlines in India, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley defended the government in the United States. In an interview to PTI, he said the government had done nothing wrong, while assuring that absolute standards of probity will be maintained in the probe into the charges.
ललित मोदी के साथ किसके संबंध थे, ललित मोदी के साथ किसके फोटो है, ललित मोदी किसके साथ बैठा है, देखिए उससे भी बहुत बड़े इशू देश में है।
पार्टी उन सारी चीज़ों को जो भी आरोप लगे हैं उनको किसी को छुपाने की कोई कोशिश नहीं करेगी। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी कोई भी आरोप लगता है उसको वो संजीदगी से लेते हैं।
The opposition, however, continued its attack on the BJP on a day when the media reports featured emails released by Lalit Modi. The emails reportedly show his dealings with various political leaders.
Lalit Modi is the personification of black money, strongly indicates about nepotism. And it is important that the government, without wasting any time, should go for a quick investigation, time-bound investigation.
Lalit Modi went to London in 2010 after the Indian Premier League got embroiled in allegations of match fixing and illegal betting. Dushyant Singh, Vasundhara Raje's son, has also been under attack over reports that his company received 11.63 crore rupees in investments from Modi in 2008.
ललित मोदी भारतीय जनता पार्टी और एनडीए सरकार के बहुत करीबी हैं और इसीलिए उनके बचाव में सब उतरे हैं और हम तो ये कहते हैं कि यहाँ आए, हिंदुस्तान में आए और ईडी के सामने अपना बयान दें और जो भी आरोप लगे हैं उसकी खुली जांच हो, जांच होने के बाद जो दोषी पाया जाए उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई की जाए।
Congress has accused Jaitley of doing a clear-cut cover-up on the entire issue and of influencing the Enforcement Directorate probe in Dushyant Singh and Modi's case. The party has also demanded the resignations of Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj for allegedly helping former IPL Commissioner Lalit Modi procure travel documents in the United Kingdom. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, Delhi court has taken cognizance of a complaint filed against HRD Minister Smriti Irani for allegedly misinterpreting facts about her educational qualifications in poll affidavits. The court said the complaint is maintainable, which means it will now examine its validity when hearing begins on the 28th of August. However, the complaint has sparked a war of words between the BJP and opposition parties whether she should step down first.
A Delhi court has admitted a complaint against HRD Minister Smriti Irani for misrepresenting her qualifications in poll affidavits. The complaint says that she made contradictory claims about her education in documents filed with the Election Commission. Questions have been raised over different details furnished about her bachelor's degree.
उनको कोर्ट एग्जामिन करेगी, उनसे कुछ सवाल पूछेगी और बेस्ड ऑन द कंक्लूजन विच कोर्ट अराइव्स ऑन नेक्स्ट डेट उस पर फिर कोर्ट अक्यूज्ड को समन्स करेगी।
इलेक्शन के एफिडेविट के बारे में केस डाला है, उसमें कोर्ट ने कहा है कि अगर आपको लगता है कि कुछ गलत है तो आप एविडेंस लीड करिए और एविडेंस के लिए कोर्ट ने 28 अगस्त की डेट दी है जिसमें कंप्लेनेंट अपना प्रूफ लेके आएगा कि उसमें उसको क्या लगा कि उसमें गलत है।
The case has triggered political debate whether the minister should step down to allow a thorough probe. Opposition parties, especially Aam Aadmi Party, were quick to refer to Delhi's former law minister Jitendra Tomar's case and demand action by the government.
ये तो दिल्ली पुलिस पे पूरा भरोसा, साथ ही देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी पर भी पूरा भरोसा है कि जिस प्रॉम्प्टनेस के साथ हमारे कानून मंत्री जितेंद्र तोमर को गिरफ्तार किया गया था, उनके खिलाफ एफआईआर दर्ज की गई थी, उसी तरीके से दिल्ली पुलिस जो है वो स्मृति ईरानी के खिलाफ एफआईआर दर्ज करेगी और उसी तरीके से उनको गिरफ्तार किया जाएगा।
स्मृति ईरानी हैज मिसलेड द entire country and the election commission by giving different affidavits as far as the education qualifications are concerned. She should immediately step down from her position and a criminal FIR should be launched against her.
नए इसमें मंत्रियों के त्यागपत्र नहीं होते हैं भैया, वो यूपीए गवर्नमेंट नहीं है, एनडीए गवर्नमेंट है।
The petition seeks Irani to be prosecuted for an offence under Section 25 of the People's Representation Act. If convicted for the offence by the court, Irani can be sentenced to up to 6 months of imprisonment. With Ravindra Shoran, Vishal Daya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
Now, the Union Cabinet has approved to set up a memorial in memory of socialist leader Jayaprakash Narayan in Bihar. The Cabinet's decision comes on the eve of the 40th anniversary of the proclamation of the emergency. It also gave approval to 6 IIMs, in which the first intake of students will start from this academic year itself. The measures were announced by Finance Minister in his budget speech. The cabinet also termed the International Yoga Day celebrations, in which 192 countries took part, as a grand success.
आज कैबिनेट ने एक और निर्णय किया है। वित्त मंत्री अरुण जेटली के जो बजट भाषण में 6 आईआईएम खोलने की बात आई थी, आज कैबिनेट ने उसको अपनी सहमति दे दी है। एंड दीज 6 आईआईएम्स आर गोइंग टू बी लोकेटेड इन विशाखापट्टनम आंध्र प्रदेश, बोध गया बिहार, सिरमौर हिमाचल प्रदेश, नागपुर महाराष्ट्र, संबलपुर उड़ीसा एंड अमृतसर पंजाब। और इनका सेशन 2015-16 से हम शुरू करने जा रहे हैं।
यह फैसला किया गया कि लोकनायक जयप्रकाश नारायण जी के नाम पर एक नेशनल मेमोरियल बनाया जाएगा। वहीं पर छपरा जिले में सिताबदियारा नामक स्थान पर लाला का टोला, जहां पर उनका जन्म हुआ था, वहीं पर बनेगा। और केवल नेशनल मेमोरियल ही नहीं बल्कि नेशनल म्यूजियम भी होगा।
Let's go across to our correspondent Vishal Daya, who's been covering the story for us, to help us understand, as far as the government's decision is concerned. Vishal, it certainly seems a very political one, doesn't it? I mean, given the fact that elections in Bihar are coming up in October, the memorial for Jaiprakash Narayan, and also an IIM in Bodh Gaya in Bihar, apart from the 5 other IIMs as promised in the budget speech of the finance minister.
Well, yes, that is one political angle to the story, but another very important political angle to the story, as far as the national memorial in the memory of late Jaiprakash Narayan is concerned, is the very fact that this decision has been taken by the cabinet of the NDA government on the eve of the 40th anniversary of proclamation of emergency in the country. So obviously there are these political references being made, but then the government has made it clear that and this has been said in so many words by the Home Minister during the press conference also, that there can be no politics as far as national icons such as Jaiprakash Narayan is concerned. But we have seen both the ruling party and the opposition slugging it out over national icons in the past, as well in the past 1.5 years also. So obviously these political angles will be given to these decisions, but then as of now the news as it stands is that the government has finally decided to build that memorial in Bihar, and also one of the IIMs will also go to Bihar, and that too in Bodh Gaya. So obviously these decisions might have some impact on the Bihar polls as well, but they are too far away. They're at least around 2.5 to 3 months away, and there will be, as far as political angles are concerned, there might be more decisions which might come in from the centre as far as the state of Bihar is concerned, because it is going to be a prestige issue both for the ruling party at the centre and the opposition as well.
All right, we'll leave it there. Vishal Daya, thanks very much for that update. Vishal, of course, will keep a track of that story for us. Well, time for a very quick break right now, but coming up on the other side, and yet another daredevil rescue operation mid-sea. The Navy saves 14 crew members of a sinking vessel off the Mumbai coast. More on that after the break.
A new experiment in Gujarat. Compulsory voting in local elections. 50% reservation for women. How will it help? What are the hurdles? Watch the big picture at 6:30 p.m. only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, India has reacted sharply to China, blocking its move with the United Nations against the Mumbai terror attack mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi. Expressing senior concern, Prime Minister Narendra Modi raised the issue with the Chinese leadership as well. Opposition parties, however, are claiming that it's a serious foreign policy setback.
A day after China blocked India's move at the United Nations against 2611 mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi, the government facing flack from opposition parties on its foreign policy.
जब यूएन में जब बात आई तो वो हमारे साथ नहीं खड़े हैं बल्कि पाकिस्तान के साथ खड़े हैं। जो लखवी है, जो अपराधी है, उसके साथ खड़े हैं। तो ये किस तरह की विदेश नीति है? मैं समझता हूँ कि जब बात करें जो भी करें, लेकिन इनकी विदेश नीति हर तरह से और खास तौर से चाइना के साथ में वो पूरी तरह से फेल है।
Now we'll expect the government of India, without wasting any time, without getting into nitty-gritty of it, must make a solid posture, a strong posture, a stout posture, conveying that we have adequate evidence so that Lakhvi could be brought to book, and we need to have diplomatic tie-ups with several other countries to put pressure even on China so that it backtracks.
Experts see it as a deliberate attempt by China to strengthen its relations with Pakistan. They feel India must look for a viable alternative to China.
There is a convergence of interests between China and Pakistan to keep India on the boil. So I think that axis is going to get stronger in the coming years. But there is also, I would like to introduce the new factor that becomes much more prominent and that makes Pakistan's important in China's calculations. That is the One Belt, One Road and the Maritime Silk Road project, both pet projects for Chinese President Xi Jinping.
It's time that there is a realization that the relationship with China should be a transactional one. And I think it's time that we also stop looking too much at Chinese sensitivities in the context of our relations with Southeast Asia and Japan. Because at the end of the day, after all, they have also seen their own interests when it comes to Pakistan.
Meanwhile, the government said it had raised the issue with China at the highest level and expressed grave concern on the matter. With Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Inputs, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, for more national news and updates, here's Nationwide. 3 MLAs of the opposition BJP were marshalled out of the Delhi Assembly today after they rushed into the well of the House, shouting slogans demanding the implementation of the 4th Delhi Finance Commission recommendations. The House continued with the budget proceedings after their eviction. The Indian Navy and Coast Guard rescued 14 crew members of a sinking vessel off the Mumbai coast. Cement carrier MV Coastal Pride was heading to Mumbai from Porbandar in Gujarat when rough seas forced it to send an SOS message. The Navy dispatched a seeking helicopter and the Coast Guard dispatched 2 Chetak helicopters for the rescue. The Palamu Express derailed after suspected Maoists blew up the rail tracks between Barbari and Chipaudhar stations in the Latehar district of Jharkhand. The engine and 3 coaches of the train jumped off the rails after the blast. No casualties or injuries were reported though. BJP MP Dilip Singh Bhuria, a member of the Lok Sabha from the Ratlam Jhabua district, passed away today at a Gurgaon hospital after a brief illness. The tribal leader was 71. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoled his death, saying the party had lost a veteran political leader who had done immense work for tribal communities. News now from across the border, and Pakistan is experiencing record-breaking heat wave since last Friday, which has claimed around 1,200 lives so far. The financial capital, Karachi, is the worst hit as all major hospitals in the city struggle to cope with the unprecedented influx of patients seeking treatments for heat stroke-related illnesses. Death toll in Karachi alone has reached 1,000, with more than 200 people reported death in other parts of the province. The government has declared a heat wave emergency, cancelling leaves of medical staff. The Pakistani Army and paramilitary rangers have set up special centres for treatment of heat stroke victims and are supplying medicines to government-run hospitals. The paramilitary forces have also set up 10 relief centres across the city of Karachi, distributing water and salt tablets. Now, France has summoned the US envoy in Paris over claims that the US spied on French President François Hollande and his 2 predecessors. Whistleblower website WikiLeaks claimed that the NSA spied on Hollande, Nicolas Sarkozy and Jacques Chirac between 2006 and 2012. France has also called for a high-level meeting to discuss the matter.
The United States allegedly wiretapped the last 3 presidents of France, including the current leader, François Hollande, as recently as 2012. According to WikiLeaks, documents made these startling claims on Tuesday.
Le centre de transmission gouvernementale, qui assure la permanence des correspondances du président de la République sous le sceau du secret défense, a été branché. Que l'avion du président, une ligne qui renvoie à la flotte aérienne de l'armée de l'air utilisée par le gouvernement, a été branché par la NSA.
Soon after the revelations, French President Hollande called an emergency meeting. He said that France would not tolerate acts that threaten its security. He also summoned the US envoy in Paris to discuss the matter. Meanwhile, US refused to react to the allegations. Declining to comment on the reports, US National Security Council spokesman Ned Price termed France as an indispensable partner and that Washington will not target the communication of French President Hollande. However, he did not deny the allegations that US conducts surveillance activities on specific and validated national security purpose. The whistleblower website cited top security intelligence reports and technical documents from the NSA. Significantly, some files dated 2012 revealed Hollande discussing Greece's possible exit from the Eurozone. It is still unclear if the information comes from the data stolen by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, China and the United States opened their high-level talks to deepen cooperation in strategic and economic issues. Despite concerns over recent cyber theft and tensions over South China Sea, the two countries agreed to build constructive bilateral ties.
I ask everybody to join me in drinking to prosperity, to peace, and to partnership between China and the United States. Kanpai.
Despite Washington's concerns about cyber theft and tussle for hegemony in the South China Sea in recent times, the 7th China-US Strategic and Economic Dialogue kicked off on a positive note. The two powerhouses have agreed to deepen cooperation in strategic and economic issues and further promote people-to-people exchanges. The US Vice President said that Washington sees China's strength as a significant asset for Asia and the whole world.
There's an old Chinese proverb that says, one generation plants a tree, the next enjoys the shade. Today we gather in the shade of a tree planted by those visionaries on both sides of the Pacific who joined hands a generation ago. And now we have to plant additional trees together today so that the generations that follow in both of our countries and around the world can grow and flourish in the shade, prosperity, and security of a new friendship.
话不能保证事事双赢，但对抗肯定是时时双输。或许我们的对话机制还需要完善和创新，但它无疑是中美增进互信、深化合作、管控分歧不可或缺的平台。
China and the United States also agreed to broaden collaboration on climate change issues. The Chinese president is likely to visit US soon.
In a few short months, President Xi will make an historic visit to the United States for a state visit. And we have high expectations that that visit can help us to define this road ahead.
中国作为碳排放大国啊，我们有不可回避的责任。 但是呢，责任和能力水平与发达国家应该有所区别。
During the two-day talk, officials are expected to have in-depth discussion on macroeconomic policy and restructuring. The two countries stressed the need to financial sector reforms and an interest rate liberalization. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, that's all from us. Goodbye.